Well, good morning, everybody. Here it is, a nice rainy Friday for me. It's drizzling and rainy, uh, but it's good to be back after having a couple weeks off. Uh, I was kind of sick, um, but anyway, here we are back again. I called this Miscellany today because I was planning to do just a few short things that weren't long enough to do a whole video on. However, it turned into quite a long video, so I hope you got your coffee and you're comfortable. And here we go. I want you to know, if anybody tells you, science clearly supports round Earth. I've just been hearing lately a lot of science supports flat Earth, and you can't prove that it's a globe. Uh, Sorry, but there just is no science in flat Earth. Uh, and I have never had someone try to prove me wrong. Uh, these flat earthers are kind of a hit and run sort of people. Uh, the first thing I can tell you is day and night doesn't work. It just can't. Um, here I have an example that I got from a flat Earth website uh, showing the sun lighting up a part of the Earth and another part kind of in the dark. Uh, I marked the place where I live in the southwest of the United States, and then I also marked London, uh, just for a large metropolitan area. Uh, and you can see that it's high noon in where I live. So there it is, high noon where I live. But you look over at London and it's twilight there or getting dark. Uh, but look, the sun is uh, clearly visible. It's high in the sky, and I'm just telling you, there's no way that it could be dark, uh, even close to dark in London. So, you flat earthers, explain that to me. Here's another thing I just ran into the other day. The tropics don't work. Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn. Uh, the Tropic of Cancer was named because when it was named, the sun was positioned in the Cancer constellation during the June solstice. Um, and then likewise, the Tropic of Capricorn was named because the sun was in the constellation Capricorn during the December solstice, uh, which would make sense. This naming took place about 2,000 years ago, and guess what? The sun is no longer in those constellations at that time of year. At the June solstice, the sun is in Taurus. At the December solstice, the sun is in Sagittarius. Uh, so when the flat earthers tell you the stars don't move, everything's the same as it's always been, that's not true. And there's the website for that. I didn't just make it up. Uh, Dominant winds, the prevailing winds, fit perfectly with the uh, globe Earth. Um, you can see here in the left that that the Coriolis causes these changes in the winds, and it has to do with the rotation of the Earth. There are some really good videos out there just about the Coriolis that I encourage you to look for. And you can see all the different namings. I also have a longer video with more information about the way the trade winds and westerlies work. But I wanted you to notice that down at the bottom here, bottom left, the winds, prevailing winds, go from west to east. In the whole United States, they're in the middle. Southwest to northeast, which is completely compatible with the westerlies. We're at that latitude where the westerlies are. In the upper right, you can see that the prevailing winds in Europe or in Britain come from the southwest to the northeast, which again fits right in with the westerlies. Then I also have a video on the jet streams, which is that final video or final photo down there. The jet streams, every one of them moves from west to east. You remember that the Earth spins from west to east. So all of these fit perfectly with the rotation of the Earth and the atmosphere, and the winds are caused by that. Hurricanes and tornadoes, this goes along with winds. You notice at the left, hurricanes never cross the Earth equator, which this could never happen on a flat Earth. On a flat Earth, there's no difference in the equator from any other latitude. So flat earthers need to be able to explain why hurricanes don't work. In the upper right, this is tornado tracks, which I've had meteorologists tell me that in general, they start from the southwest and move to the northeast. They also spin counterclockwise, which is the same as hurricanes in the northern hemisphere. And everything fits the way it should fit. Stars. Everything about stars fits the rotation of the Earth. We have pole stars that are always visible. Polaris and Sigma Octantis are always located at your latitude. Why would that be? If you have a dome, you just accidentally Polaris is somehow located at your latitude. Imagine if you live at say 20 degrees north, the pole star is going to be down close to the equator. Why does the dome spin around down by the equator? It just can't happen. There are circumpolar stars which never are are not visible. They're always visible in the northern hemisphere, and in the southern hemisphere there are circumpolar stars. There are seasonal constellations which are only visible during certain seasons. Uh, then there are star trails, which you can see here. Uh, Planets wander and move around in all directions. Uh, they oppose the star paths, star trails, and even sometimes they move retrograde. They move in the opposite direction from where the stars are turning. Uh, Here's a few other things that are not stars. Foucault pendulums. I know flat earthers think they're fake, but they not only show where the Earth is spinning, they clearly show the rotation of the Earth, and they show you the latitude of the location where they're at. Some of them, I agree, have a small motor that kind of gives the pendulum a little bit of a jolt to keep it moving so that friction doesn't cause it to stop. But the motor that they use is not powerful enough to move the whole pendulum. So flat earthers, that doesn't work for you. The laser ring gyro we've all heard about lately. The laser ring gyro shows exact rotation. According to Bob Nodell, 15 degrees per hour, which is what we expect. It cannot be that it's measuring the rotation of the dome, and this is because ships, airplanes all use this gyro for locating their position. And then there's the Bedford level, which flat earthers will tell you shows flat earth, but it doesn't. And thanks to Jeranism, he proved that it does show curvature. Gravity is very real. Those poor old flat earthers keep saying, prove gravity and I'll believe it. Well, here's direct proof. I did an experiment myself. That's me on the roof of my house. I dropped 3 balls from the roof, and you can see that they're all falling at the same rate there. Each of the balls, one is a tennis ball, they're moving, they're dropping at the same rate, and each of the 3 has different sizes, different weights, different densities, and yet they're falling at the same time. Also, there's no discrepancy between Newton and Einstein. Newton's gravity has to do with on the Earth or on the surface of the planet. It's equal to a force. It works like a force, and explains perfectly the effects of gravity. You need to remember that gravity is recognized as one of the 4 fundamental forces. Relativity, gravity, relativity is on a massive scale. We're talking about planets, uh, black holes, and this works for relativity in its attempt to find the cause for gravity, the source of gravity, and to reconcile the four fundamental forces and space-time. So they're not for causing the effects of gravity locally on a planet. They're for finding a reconciliation of the four forces. Density, relative density, are absolutely, positively not a force. They cannot be. They are properties of mass. And just like whatever, color, whatever, they're just a property of mass. Oh, and I thought I could do this real quick, but this is something that's been bothering me for a month. It seems like there have just been tons and tons of these black swan videos with all the pros and the cons and people saying it's true and it's not true. And so finally I decided, just in this miscellaneous video, to just add my own thoughts. First of all, you've heard this 100 times. Flat earthers are the first to quote to you observable, measurable, testable, repeatable. That's experiments. I have also heard scientifics being instantly dismissed because of unverifiable data and external variables. If you want to look them up, there's a Discovery Channel video where Hawking has some graduate students doing an experiment to measure curvature, and I have had flat earthers say, oh, they didn't show how they measured the height of their telescope, and so it's invalid. Even though it shows exactly to the inch the exact curvature that the good old 8" per mile squared calculation shows. And they did like 4 measurements. Then there's the Salton Sea experiment. Very irritating because the Salton Sea is this large sea in Southern California, and the scientists planned an experiment to measure the curvature over the Salton Sea. It was announced. Flat earthers were invited, including Mark Sargent and many others. And I want to assure you this Salton Sea is way out in the desert, and it's far away from any population center or city. And you watch this video and there are people that said, oh, I didn't watch the experiment, so I don't know if it's valid or not. Well, good Lord, why did you drive out there if you weren't going to watch the experiment? Mark Sargent, he was walking down a road there, and someone stopped him and said, so what do you think of the experiment? He said, Well, I didn't see it up close. And they said, well, what was the outcome? And he said, oh, it was refraction. Just instantly refraction. Uh, didn't look at the experiment, didn't see what they did, just uh, wrote it off instantly. Let me assure you positively that this black swan thing is an invalid experiment. Uh, they're trying to prove something, and they're just using all kinds of invalid measurements. If you watch the very first video, one of the things Anthony says is, well, it's really not 1 foot off of the ground, but let's say it's 1 foot. And that is certainly not the way you would do it in a scientific experiment. I also checked, tides are 0 feet to 8 feet. Doesn't often reach 8 feet, but there's definitely tides there which were not measured. He has a grid that he draws. He doesn't draw perspective. He draws something he calls compression. And his compression values are not correct. He just uses kind of an approximation there. They're not the way artists use for drawing perspective to the horizon. Just everything about it is not correct. There are many, many external variables which were not dealt with. And these are well documented. You can look them up anywhere. Things like the surface water temperature, air temperature, pressure, winds, currents, the time of day, the sun's location in the sky, camera settings. We could just go on and on. Most critical here to me is zoom, which is used throughout the video. They zoom in, they zoom out, zoom, 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 and there's no explanation or indication of what zoom does. I personally am not a photographic expert. I can't tell you anything about cameras, but it gives me an uncomfortable pause for how do you know zoom doesn't change the aspect, cause different changes in the camera and the photo, and I would just like to have some kind of explanation of that. Measurements. So to summarize, the experiment is not observable because of zoom. It's invalid distance from the water, so they didn't measure all this stuff. You can see, by the way, I could see in the video when they point the camera at the ground that it's certainly not close to a foot above the water. It's more like at his knees. It's not scientifically testable because there are variables that affect the photographs that are not explained or measured, and it's certainly not set up to be repeatable. You have to kind of search to find out where they're at. Plus, you only have one photo. It's not repeatable. Uh, when you have one data point, that's certainly not a valid experiment. Uh, so over here on the right, I have some questions. Uh, you look at those lines up there. Which one of those is the horizon? Is it the closer line? Is it the further away line? Uh, Anthony wants to know why the horizon is not in front of the platforms. You can clearly see that that top line is in front of the left uh, oil rig, and it's in front of the right oil rig. Uh, why are the platforms different sizes? Look at the difference in the front platform to the back one. Uh, there's clearly a difference there. Um, you can see that the left platform is lower. Um, obviously, the legs of it are partially hidden by the horizon. Uh, the left one is 9.4 miles, Anthony said. The right one is 6.2 miles, which Anthony said. I looked up those oil rigs information from the oil companies, and those are incorrect values. Again, the left one has some hidden amount at the bottom, uh, and so all of these questions come from that website there. So my conclusions today are that flat Earth is just simply a farce. It's a money-making opportunity artificially created by Mark Sargent and Eric Dubay. Those guys were working together as part of the Flat Earth Society, and then they broke away to create their own uh, situation. Uh, there is no science to Flat Earth. They just make up things to cause confusion. Nothing they've ever shown is scientific. It doesn't fit together to corroborate each other. Uh, the one thing that you can always guarantee about science is that they start with a more generalized uh, um, hypothesis, and then other more specific hypotheses are added to that. You don't have different hypotheses with different proofs, and everything is different. Uh, it all makes sense together. Uh, the next thing, it's a big thing to me, there's never once been a flat earther respond to any of my videos. Uh, maybe I'm a little butthurt, uh, but uh, there just is no response. Nobody wants to question any of the things that I put forward. Uh, so if you want more details on any of this information, uh, watch some additional videos on my channel. I've detailed a lot of this, created videos. I've included a link to another video that you should watch. This is Professor Dave Explains. I think that you'll be very interested in his video. And the last thing I want to say today is please, please, please comment. I miss you guys when you don't comment. Every once in a while I have a video where I get 40 or 50 views and get 2 comments. So I would really like to hear from you. So anyway, this is my video for today. I hope you've learned something out of it. That's the point of me doing this, is I research, I make sure that everything I tell you is the truth, and so respond to my videos and tell me if I made a mistake. So that's all I have for today. I'll see you next week.